Hey guys, it's here bringing you another video. Now welcome to Patch Note Breakdown, and this one is for 26.3. So before I will say about the patch, and by the way, it's going to be a big one, so feel free to pause, go get yourself a drink, maybe some popcorn, like the video while you do that. We'll say if you're enjoying the kind of mini game within the client, the next part of it is being released with this patch, so that's good. So let's get into it. It's a big one. We got nerfs, and the title of this is they're finally nerfing overpowered characters. So yeah, that is kind of the theme. Is there's been some overpowered characters that have been running, let's say, rampant in solo queue recently, and they're getting nerfed. So Brom has been very good in support. Diana's been a beast. Echo's been a beast. Neela, not really seen that much. Riven is stupidly OP, especially in high rating. Rise, I will say, is an interesting one. So Rise has only become really strong because of a specific item, which is Actualizer. It is the Rise item. And I will say, I had a Rise today. It was a very close game. I think it's going to be a video, so in the next, 3 or 4 days. He didn't buy it. And that's the only reason that you're starting to see Rise at the moment is the Actualizer item. And the Rise on my team did not purchase that item, which is very weird. I've also just noticed, why am I flipped? Why is my camera flipped? What's happened? Hang on. What? Hang on. Whoa. Hey, there we go. So we'll continue the recording because we started. But then we got Varus, obviously stupidly overpowered character. Volibear, stupidly overpowered character. And Zed, a strong character. So there's that. We've got buffs to Ari, Belveth, Briar, Draven, Ezreal, Hecarim, Heimer, Kayn, Maokai, Neferi, Nunu, and they just nerfed Nunu last patch. Trundle, Tryndamere, Vi, Xin-Zhao, Yone, and Zehen. Now, I will say, some of these champions in the buff list, I don't know if they need buffs. Some of them, I don't know if Zehen needs a buff. I don't know if Belveth needs a buff. I don't think Hecarim needs a buff. So, yeah. And then we got system adjustments to Jace and Mel. And the Mel adjustment is like her complete rework that's trying to, in essence, turn her into an actual, champion of League of Legends rather than being just a frustration ball. And then we have system changes to Actualizer. So that's partially, by the way, why the Rise nerf is happening. They're, spoiler, I think they're just making it cheaper so more champions might buy it. Spoiler alert, they won't. It's not really a great item apart from the mana-hungry mages. Rise is the #1, and typical mages won't buy it because they're not buying all the mana items in the world like a Rise does. Maybe a Kassadin could dip his toe into it. Maybe an Anivia could. But Anivia doesn't really want the absolute burst of that big combo like a Rise does, or even a Kassadin does. So, yeah, I don't know if it's 100% needed on anything other than Rise. But then we having armored advance, so the boots, cashback, more boot nerfs, and obviously these are the upgraded boots, so they're just for mid lane because that's the only place that gets these boots now. Champion bounties, Dusk and Dawn, so a very controversial item that a lot of the champions that Varus and Volibear and Echo and Diana, why are they so giga overpowered? A lot of it is this item. I did see a week ago on Reddit, I think it was Freak, he always pops up on Reddit with things that he says, saying that the item isn't strong or something, and that's just wrong. The item is very strong. It synergizes so well with a bunch of champions. That is the problem. And then we're getting Endless Hunger, Phase Rush, the Protoplasm Harness, Triple Tonic, and Turret Plates. And then we've got some new skins, which are Firecracker, which I presume is that about the Chinese New Year, maybe? I don't know. Possibly? ARAM Mayhem. So again, they're continuing ARAM Mayhem. It's proving to be very successful. And I will say, I don't play a lot of ARAM. I don't have a lot of spare time off stream to play League. But ARAM Mayhem is very good. A big thumbs up for me. I think it's absolutely fantastic. So, we're going to skip the ARAM Mayhem stuff because this is a big patch. First thing, champion bounties. So we accelerated how quickly champion kill go devalued. Yeah, so I will say this has been bizarre. Again, I think it'll be a video. I literally earlier today got a kill on someone in top lane, and then about a minute or two later, I got another kill. So the first kill, I got my 300 gold. My second kill, and it was, I think it was like the second kill even in the game, I got 150 gold for that kill. Half gold for getting a solo kill in top lane a few minutes into the game. Like, it was bonkers to me. I was like, wait, what? Like, that, it was mental. So, you know, they're tuning it. It was a bit too harsh in devaluing people, basically. So yeah, so the devalue rate on death was 1 per 2.5 gold given out. It's now 1.35 gold given out, and then when you get farming, basically the value goes back up when the person gets to farm a decent amount. So you are still getting devalued, and also I will say, I don't know if it's a Google Chrome thing. This is happening to my Google Chrome recently. Wherever I type, it does like a blinky thing, like I can type there, but I can't. It's a bit weird. So we'll put it up there, and hopefully it'll go away. But yeah, so they're still devaluing people really quite easily. So it's unfortunately not punishing, because you're still getting gold. But where, like, if you are just outskilling somebody and you're killing them over and over again, it's hurting you a little bit for just being better than your opponent, which is a bit of a weird way to balance to me. But they're making it better for the better player, but it's still probably a bit weird. Turret plates. So it's too hard for teams to convert a winning team fight into meaningful progress into the enemy base, but split pushing raises towers a little too quickly, which I would agree to that. To solve both of these issues, we're re-architecturing temporary turret resist to resist solo pushes a little better and blockade teams less. Okay, so before it was 20 to 10 of temporary resistances per plate based on how many nearby champions there are, which is now it's 30 to 50 per plate based on how many. So basically, you know, if there's only one of you, then, you know, it's going to be tanky-ish. But if there's 5 of you, yeah, it's going to get tankier, but there's more of you to hit the turret, like way less resistances. So that's fine. So that's good. Phaelites and Vision. So again, a controversial area. I still find, you know, I am using the Phaelites and people are using them, but I definitely feel like the hype of it, because it's not brand new, is definitely not as like in your face. But there is a lot of vision on the map with how much the Phaelites kind of overlap and show vision of, you know, massive corridors in the jungle or a whole river basically from top lane to near mid. It is maybe a bit excessive. So what they are doing is they are changing one of the locations so that the reveal shape is expanded past Scuttle Pad and Epic Pit entrance. It now cuts off before the Scuttle Pad and Epic Pit entrance. So like less vision, I guess, around the in the rivers, and then the trinket cooldown of your ward trinket. So they literally in your inventory, the ward trinket is now in the early game a 40-second nerf. So level 1 that would be, but yeah, less wards in at least the early game, which I'm fine for. Again, I've jungled a little bit recently, and yeah, it's hard to get ganks in. I was playing Rengar, and I just couldn't get ganks in, and I presume it's because everyone had vision everywhere. Like, how can you get ganks in all the time? So, respect to junglers, because I don't think it's easy right now in that respect. And that's why I, by the way, think stealth champions are pretty popular right now, at least in the early game. Or AP, you know, a lot of the AP melee champs that are very strong, Echo, Diana, they have so much mobility that they can come through the lane, and that, therefore you're kind of ignoring the fact that everything's warded. Other changes though, Scryer's Bloom. Remove the Scryer's Bloom just outside the base gates from the Cloud and Chemtech Rift. Fiddlesticks, while providing to be an effigy on a Phaelite, Fiddlesticks will now display on model visual effects as if a Phaelite enhanced effigy. So it doesn't give them the more vision, but it looks like they do, I guess. When it's the actual, by the way, the Fiddlesticks himself, not the trinket fake version. And Nico, the exact same thing, is if Nico is disguised as a ward on a Phaelite, she will kind of give the, you know, the appearance of being a ward on a Phaelite. So making it a bit easier for her to trick people, which is good. Support control wards. So for support players on Summoner's Rift, control wards will now start in your role quest slot from the beginning of the match. So I like this because, again, I've played limited support games this year. I will say, and I don't know about you guys, so the way it was currently, so before this change, I always put, let's say, my control ward on my 4, my keybind in my inventory as 4. I use my control wards. The moment you complete your support quest, it unlocks the new inventory slot where control wards go, so they don't take up an inventory slot. It's a dedicated control ward inventory spot, and that is by default bound to V. But because it's not in my inventory slot anymore, and probably because I don't play support all the time, I am constantly forgetting to use control wards when I do my support games. So what's happening now is from the beginning of the game, the control wards are going to be in that slot. So that keybind is now going to remain consistent throughout the whole game, because that's what was happening to supports. Is my keybind is going from, let's say, 4 to V. So I think it's a better way of doing it to cause a little bit less confusion. Obviously, I imagine support mains aren't as affected, because when it's your day in and out, your every game, you get used to it a lot quicker. But yeah, when you're not, you forget. Let's get into the champion changes, though. So Ahri, I see Ahri doing, like, kind of okay, but then it's this. And again, is it a bad thing? She's a mage assassin, and realistically, a mage assassin should either have really good games or kind of be useless. Because a mage assassin is either I'm engaging, boom, I kill something, or oh, I'm not very strong, I don't get a kill, I didn't get ahead. And that's kind of where Ahri is right now, but they're buffing her. Obviously, it goes without saying, Ahri is one of the most popular mages and champions in League. They probably want her to be on the stronger side of balance because of that. So the cooldown of Foxfire is simply going down 1 second. So that's good for lane phase, especially for trading. Good for last hitting minions, because it does help last hit minions. So a little bit of a CDR buff, but nothing major. That's fine. Belveth. Health growth going up, so tankier. And then her ultimate, the true damage on attack per stack, is going up. So again, where you get stacks is like the coral and all that stuff is farming jungle and all that. That's basically what you're doing. The more you farm your jungle, the more stacks you're getting, and therefore the more bonus true damage you're going to be doing. So pretty simple. So it's rewarding better Belveths that are farming their jungle more. So that's the type of buff, by the way, that I like, especially when it comes to a dangerous hyper carry champion like a Belveth. It's not just a flat, here's more damage by default. No. If you're a good Belveth and you maximize your clear time and you maximize clearing as much as you can, and you maximize, I can go for a steal in the enemy jungle, get a bit more passive as well from their jungle, not just mine. It's rewarding being a better Belveth. It's not just going, hey, here's more damage on your W. So I like that. Thumbs up from me. Hide behind Brom. So yeah, Brom is an absolute beast right now. Again, part of it is the new items that synergize with him really well, obviously. But he is very strong. So they are nerfing his base health. That's coming down 20. And again, 20 doesn't sound like a lot, but it is the difference, let's say, at level 1, level 2. You're having a really close 2v2 fight, and Brom just survives. Well, now, he doesn't just survive, he dies. That's what the difference is. And then the Q is being nerfed. In terms of its damage, base health damage nerf starting at rank 2. And obviously you do, I believe, max Q on Brom. So he will feel it. Obviously, Brom's not really supposed to be a damage dealer. But yeah, so it is just a bit of a nerf, which I think is fine. Briar. So the thing with Briar, she's a hard champion to balance. The reason being, and there's a whole group of category of champion that honestly they have been harder to balance, and some of them are overpowered and some of them are pretty useless. What are these champions? The stat sticks. It's that simple. They are the ultimate stat sticks. A lot of them are auto attacker based, and they don't really outskill you. They can play well. These players can play well on these champions, but there's not really I outplayed you there. It's I jump on your face and auto attack you and you die. And if I've got more stats than you, I kill you. Or I got behind, or you kill me. That's basically what it is. And like Briar is in that category, Volibear is very much in that category, Master Yi is even really in that category. They are hard to balance because it's a very fine line of these stat sticks or if you give them a little bit too many stats, they just walk over you, and you're like, well, I couldn't really outplay that. They just autoed me to death. But if you give them a bit too little stats, they're useless. Well, that's the problem with these champs. It's lower skill expression champions are actually weirdly harder to balance because you can't take in account going, right, Azir is actually really hard to play, so we can kind of do this with him because players won't be able to be as consistent doing it. Players can be very consistent on what they're doing on Briar or Volibear and stuff like that, so that's the problem with them. So what they're doing, and they are buffing her, health growth is going up, so a bit tankier. Armor growth is going up, a bit tankier. The Q is going from a nerf, nerf, 6% current health to 5% current health of the health cost. Actually, it's a buff, sorry, because that's how much it costs to use the ability. So it's not using her health as much. And then the W, the exact same thing. So 6% to 5% of current health. The E, 6% to 5%, and the ultimate 6% to 5%. So it's no massive. It's not damage buffs. It's just basically going. All of her abilities cost her own health to use, and obviously she does heal a lot, by the way. So she does get this back. But it's that initial, I'm losing health, and then probably can just die pretty quickly, especially when you're using a lot of abilities at the same time. So they're just making it less harsh to use abilities, as it were. So there's that. Diana. So the thing with Diana, and you can see here, they're not nerfing her damage. Oh my god, she's so overpowered. Again, the problem that we've actually had in the first, let's say, month of the season is the items. And a lot of the time that is the problem, by the way, with league balance. A lot of the time it's not champions, it's items. Even if Riot refuses to acknowledge it. And Diana and a lot of the AP melee champs, and some of them aren't even in this list, but they've had access to very strong items. Dusk and Dawn is bonkersly strong, and it synergizes so well with the attack on, the attack speed AP champions. Gunblade is still really strong, but it's not being nerfed yet. And I think they might be tackling one thing at a time, and with this category of champion. But yeah, so what they're doing is they're nerfing her jungle clear speed, so that passive, auto attack with the empowered third auto in the AoE. They're nerfing that to make her clear speed less, but they're also saying Dusk and Dawn is being nerfed. So that is mainly her nerf anyway. So there's that. Draven. Oh, Draven's Q was initially bugged to deal less damage at the start of the season, but it was micro patched within the first week. But players are also trying Essence Reaver over Bloodthirster, which currently performs worse. But after accounting for all these factors, Draven still is not in a place as he was last year. I will say, Draven can be a scary champion, but I will die on this hill that it is harder to make early game champions work in modern day League. So, Draven may not be performing as well right now. Maybe players are just better against early game champs. Because again, a lot of players are realizing for a Draven to do much or a Lucian to do much, they have to realistically get ahead in lane. And just being 20 farm ahead at 10 minutes isn't enough. They need kills. They need that high pressure. So if you just kind of, if you're playing Jinx or something and you'll outscale one of them, you go, I'm just going to let them have an extra 1 or 2 minions per wave, and I'm just going to play a little bit back, a little bit safe. There's not a lot they can do unless their jungler really helps them, and they're going to get outscaled. So what they're actually doing is AD growth from 3 to 3.4. What does that do? Not a crazy amount, but in essence, it's giving Draven a little bit more scaling because it's giving him more actual attack growth throughout the game. I don't think it's going to help him too much, but it'll help him a bit. So there is that. Echo. So again, similar to Diana. But yeah, so AP ratio of his passive is going up, but the monster damage is going down. So what they're basically saying is we're actually kind of probably okay with Echo in mid, but it's jungle Echo that's being a bit more of a problem. So we're nerfing his monster damage in terms of how much it clears, but if you're playing it mid lane, it's kind of okay. Now, I'm mixed about that because I think Echo in general is very strong, but again, he is going to be getting the Dusk and Dawn nerfs like Diana. But he's a strong champion, there's no doubt about that. Ezreal, AD growth is going up, and the E is also getting a bonus attack, a bonus AD buff. It was a 50%, it's now a 60%. I will say, again, they're saying Ezreal's been in a pretty weak spot for most players, and that's maybe that's where it's a bit different for me. In Master games, I've seen Ezreal's dominate, like high damage, popping off. The autos seem to do a lot of damage. Like, I'm seeing Ezreal's do really well. So I will say, obviously, Ezreal as a champion is a very high skill champ. He's always been one of the most popular champs in the game, but a lot of players who play him just simply play him because he is very fun, but they do not play him because they're really good at him. But the higher rating you go, Ezreal becomes more of a problem because players are very good. So this could be a bit scary in Apex ranks, so Master and above with an Ezreal, because I've already seen some really strong Ezreals this year. So we will see how that goes. Wouldn't be shocked if Ezreal gets a nerf or something, but like in a patch or two time, but we'll see. Hecarim. Again, Hecarim, very annoying champion. Again, is in my opinion, he's in that kind of stat, like, you know, very little skill expression, just a stat stick that runs on you, and I run on your face and then you're dead. It's not the most fun thing to play Hecarim. You know, a friend of mine, a lot of you will know the name Jeebus, when he used to play League a bit more when he was an AD carry main, he permabanned Hecarim because it's so frustrating that you're playing a squishy AD carry and you can't stop a Hecarim getting to you, and he just walks over you like, well, I'm dead. It's not the most fun. And, you know, Hecarim, one of my things I've said, you know, recently in the Q&A and stuff, one of my dislikes for this season, and I will say I'm overall really enjoying this season, you know, I am actually having a lot of fun. But one of my dislikes is it's always the same group of champions that are strong. It's the Volibear, it's the Katarina, it's an Echo, it's a Diana, it's a Hecarim. And it's like, I've kind of been, you know, I enjoy that they, you know, I would hope to enjoy a different group of champions being strong. But hey, Hecarim hasn't been performing as well as he has forever, or like, you know, all the time. They're buffing him straight away. But oh, really? So it's just, I don't mind Hecarim being a bit of a weaker state, considering he's been really good for quite a long time in solo queue, you know? So damage per hit of his Q is going up. And then the damage amp per rampage stacks, the more you press it, is going down. So because it's getting a higher base damage, they're making sure it's not overly crazy. So there we go. So they're saying the net result of both Q changes is a strict buff until around 225 AD. So it's an early game buff, but in mid to late game, it might not be, I guess. So there's that. The Dong. So again, I play a bit of Heimer, and I understand he can be a frustrating champion, but I have been on the hill that Heimer has not been a very strong champion for a long time. I don't play him because he's strong. I play him because I weirdly enjoy him. And I would say, you know, it's going to sound maybe bad what I'm about to say, but when I'm a bit tired and I'm playing a top lane game and I look at a matchup and I kind of go, I play Heimer. You know, he is a bit of a forgiving if you're a bit tired. You know, the towers auto-attack for you. And obviously in life at the moment with a newborn, I'm tired a lot. So that's where the Heimer stuff came for me. But it's never been because he's strong. He has not been strong for a long time. There will be a Heimer game uploaded in the next couple of days, though, I will say. So enjoy that. And that would have been pre-buff. But the health growth is going up. And the rocket's initial damage... Ooh, the initial damage has gone up of the initial rocket. That's pretty good. And then the follow-up damages are unchanged. So, yeah. They are... Yeah. Heimer's been performing worse in the new season. And he was balanced before then. So we're here to return him to his former glory. We know top lane Heimer can feel suffocating when his turrets are all set up. So we're looking to rebuff him in ways that allow him to be more proactive instead of turtling. So they're not looking to buff his Q. They're looking to buff his W. So, you know, every now and then, you know, I've said to people, you know, the whole discussion about cheese picks comes up quite a lot. You know, this right now is Riot telling you, we know top lane Heimer can feel suffocated because he is a top laner. He is balanced around top. Their whole decision about making this buff is always a bit weak, but because he is played top lane, we don't want to buff the Q because that's where it can be a bit suffocating for melee top laners. So, and that's the whole point. He is balanced for being top. He's balanced for top and mid. And that's where the whole that Heimer is not a cheese top laner because of literally this. This is a perfect example I can show. Yes, he's slightly a bit more off meta than the absolute meta, even ranged AP top laners like Teemo, but he is balanced around top lane and has been for many, many years. There's your evidence. They're willingly going, oh, he's a bit weak, we need to buff him. But because he is played top lane, we don't want to buff his Q because that's the thing that's annoying for the melee top laners. So we'll buff the W because that's the skill expression buff, because it's a skill shot you actually have to land as a Heimer, you know? So there you go. Jace. So Jace jungle has kind of taken over recently, and I think partially, personally, as an ex-Jace player, is because in top lane he can't really bully people anymore. Majority, I would say, of meta top laners just walk over him, and if a really good Jace plays well, he can still do good, like a really good Jace. But one mistake made against something meta, he's dead. And that's the problem with Jace, you know? He used to be the lane bully that didn't scale well. He scales better than he used to, but he can't lane bully anymore. So why I think jungle Jace has kind of gotten better is because his ganks, they're a bit weird, obviously, being like a ranged thing, but he can do damage from afar coming in, so he can snipe things. His movement speed is good, and obviously he's a bruiser when he's in cannon form, hammer form, so it's not bad. It works quite well. So what are they doing? The damage of his Q in hammer form is being buffed in base damage. However, the bonus damage on monsters is being nerfed. So it's where, like, lane Jace hasn't been great for a while. So this is a buff to his hammer Q, but without buffing the jungle version, you know? It'll probably roughly work out nearly even. So you can see here, it's a 15 bonus damage nerf to monsters. It's a 10, starting at rank 2, it's a 10 damage buff. So, like, it's technically still a net 5 damage nerf to jungle Jace for his Q starting at rank 2. But it's a better thing for lane Jace. And then the ranged version, similar story. So, is it a similar story? Oh, no, it's not. It's a nerf. So the base damage of his ranged Q is simply going down, and the bonus AD of it is going down, and the monster bonus damage is going down. Where I would imagine they're wanting to shift things is obviously the Q shock blast is when you're in your ranged form and you just fire a shock blast from really high range, especially if you pair it with the E, the gate. This is the, you know, if you wanted to say, like, the safer thing to do as Jace, and they probably don't want that to be as safe, so they're nerfing it. So if that's what someone does only, well, they're not going to do as much damage. They want to incentivize, no, you need to go into melee range occasionally. That's what you need to do. You need to use both sides of Jace, which some players don't. So I'm cool with that. And then the W, the cannon stance R, so the magic, and armor and magic resist shred when you're swapping, is going up. So again, it's encouraging swap your form, you know, go to the cannon form, shred the armor a little bit, go into melee form, smack them on the head with the big hammer. They want that kind of, like, use both forms, which I'm cool with. So I don't think it's going to help lane Jace enough to be viable. It's worth mentioning, but, you know, there's that. Kayn, again, like I said about the Hecarim thing, I wouldn't be sad if we didn't see Kayn for a while, but there's that. So Blue and Kayn specifically became much weaker this season. We'd like to fix it. I will say I had a Blue Kayn today. It was a perfect game for Red Kayn, and that's, I would say, part of the problem, especially with Kayn mains and Kayn one tricks. He's a bit of an ego champion, you know, edgelord kind of vibe. A lot of Kayns, even though it can be a better Red Kayn game, a lot of Kayns with the ego go, I'm playing blue, I'm gonna try and one-shot everyone. But, like, if they've got a Mundo with 8,000 health, you know, why? Like, you know, that's what I mean. So they're buffing his Q, the Reaping Slash, base damage starting at rank 2, and then eventually up to rank 5, a 20 damage buff. Not going to do a whole lot of help to him, I will say. But Kayn players probably will be happy. Maokai. Maokai... Well, Maokai's been struggling to find his place both in top and jungle simply he's too slow. Like, I'll say that right now. They should not balance Maokai at all to being a top or a jungler anymore. They should just balance him to be a support. He's in top lane, even if you buffed his damage, and again, the problem when you buff Maokai's damage, and obviously they are buffing his damage, but this is the Q. To make Maokai viable in top or jungle, you would have to buff the sapling's damage, but then it becomes a really oppressive playstyle of him just building Leandries and throwing saplings in bushes. Like, it's a non-interactive playstyle. It's really boring. So but then if you're making it like this, Bramble Smash damages up. Well, that means he has to go into melee range, and you're telling me you're making a Maokai go into melee range to a Darius. Good luck. Like, that's the thing. Like, it's not going to work. He's too slow. His damage is just simply not there. And if you want absolute tankiness, there's things that are tankier than him, you know? So maybe he needs a rework, but obviously he already had a rework. But I don't know. He just doesn't fit. As I would say, he especially doesn't fit in top lane anymore. Jungle, maybe a bit more, but then I'd imagine, again, he's a bit too slow in the jungle. Because jungle right now, clear speeds are really high, and it's a lot. If you look at who the popular junglers are, they're all high mobility junglers. You know, they can jump over walls. They can start the next camp a few seconds earlier than something that can't jump over walls. Diana, Talon, Echo, you know, they are the meta at the moment. Kha'Zix, you know. So I don't know. Mel, so I'm not going to go in detail about this. I'd be half tempted. Maybe in the near future, I might play a Mel game, but they are changing the champion. TLDR, her W, yeah, so it's saying here, one big change is changing her reflect damage immunity to a shield. So her W, which is like the big thing about Mel, that was like her big thing, when she presses it, you know, she's always had immunity, she can't get damaged for like a second or two. Yeah, that she can now. So hello, Miss Maya. She can get killed when she presses W, because it's now just a shield. It's not a immunity. Hello, perps. Sorry, Maya's just joined me. So you know, and I think they've done other things like the Q, is worse than before, but it's changed. So yeah, we might look into this a bit more in detail, but it's just a lot to do in this video, but it's already going to be a long video. Nefari, is that the next one? Yeah, so Nefari, pack mate monster damage. So again, I don't know if this champion needs buffs, I will say. I've seen some Nefaris do quite good things. So, but what they're doing is they're just making her jungle clear go more, like, quicker. So it's not technically a damage buff. It's not a buff, obviously, because mid lane is still strong. It's a jungle clear speed buff. And that, like I literally just said about the Maokai thing, why he wouldn't fit very well in jungle is because it's all about clear speed. It's all how fast you can clear and how fast can you jump around the map. Now, Nefari jungle can, again, jump over walls occasionally. And, you know, Maokai, you know, yeah, you could throw a sapling over a wall on some of them and then W onto the camp, but that's still way longer than the things that can just jump over walls. But I don't know. Neela. So I will say Neela is so happy in brackets overpowered. I don't see Neela that much, you know. So it's something that I can't massively say. I just simply don't see Neela's in my games. So Riot is saying she's overpowered, which fair enough. They obviously think she is, so they're nerfing her. So attack damage is going down and armor growth is going down. So 2 nerfs in both damage and tankiness of armor. So there we go. Again, I can't really speak much for it because I really don't see Neela's in my games. So, yeah. Nunu. So, yeah, they nerfed Nunu, but then nerfed him too much. So the maximum damage of his snowball is going up in terms of, I guess, base damage. And then the E, base damage per hit, once again, is going slightly up. Now, one thing you'll notice in these buffs, they're not buffing AP ratios. I don't think Riot loves full AP Nunu. Again, it's not the healthiest playstyle in the world. So they are buffing the base damage, which tank Nunu will benefit from. And yeah, AP Nunu benefits from it too, but it's not like they're throwing an extra 10% AP ratio on as well. So there's that. Ugh, Riven. So yeah, Riven is very strong. way too strong, especially the higher rating you go. You know, this is, I would say, part of the problem with. It's not the problem with League of Legends, but some champions, we as a community of League have very different experiences with. If you talk to an Apex ranked player and go Riven, they're right now, especially a top laner, they'll shudder. They'll go, "Oh god, she's so overpowered." But if you talk to someone that's in Silver and you go Riven, they'll go, "Oh, she sucks." It's a very different experience. You know, put it this way: EU West, the server I play on, is not really known as the one-trick Riven server. That's mainly been North America for many, many years. From yesterday's stream, so yesterday was Monday, today's Tuesday, I have played against, I think, 5 Riven one-tricks, which is roughly 20 to 25% of my matches. There has been a Riven one-trick in it, which is an insanely high ratio. Like, you know, there's 170 characters. If you broke it down on what could be played in top lane, and obviously more can be played in top lane now because cheese picks are fairly popular, you could probably say 50 champions could be played in top lane. Well, that, you know, I've played against 5 Rivens in the last 2 days. That's a very high ratio, you know? Especially that she's a more of a specialist champion. She's more of a one-trick champion. People are doing it, and people are maining her. People are one-tricking her because she's been broken for a very long time, especially in high rated. Like when I saw on Twitter and I saw on Reddit and even my own community, when the nerf of Riven was announced, everyone's going, finally. All the high rated top laners are going, finally she's getting nerfed. So I don't know if it'll be enough, but let's see. So the passive, the Runic Blade, so again, what Riven's passive is, it's basically a sheen. So after she uses an ability, she gets an empowered auto attack based off, you know, her AD. So that's where you'll see a Riven do a let's say 1Q auto attack, Q again auto attack, Q again auto attack, W auto attack, E auto attack, R auto attack, R auto attack. Obviously, the person's most likely dead halfway through that combo, but that's the whole thing. But they're nerfing it, so it's going from a 30% to a 30 to 50% ratio to a 30 to 45% ratio. Still pretty strong, especially where I think, honestly, the problem in Riven, and, you know, I'm okay with her being a heavy scaling champion. I think a lot of people are fine with that. It's her early game that has no right being as strong as it is, and the passive is still 30% at level 1. I would have maybe touched that down a little bit, make it 25% at level 1, not 30. Then the Q, so again, the damage of the Q, which is the Broken Wings, which is the kind of most spammable ability. The bonus AD is being nerfed, but again, it's not a big nerf, man. It really isn't. So the base damage is staying the same, and then the bonus AD was 65 to 85% bonus AD percent. It's now 60 to 80, so it's a 5% bonus AD nerf. So obviously when you add these things together, it is a nerf, but in the absolute early game, it's not going to do that much. She's still going to kill things in the early game when she probably should not kill them. Yeah, I don't know. I still think this, like, if when we get onto the Varus nerf, if it makes Varus no longer a menace in top lane, then I was banning Riven before that. I really want to start banning Riven again because, as I said, I've played against 5 of them in the last 2 days. But I have to right now ban Varus. As someone that has no desire cheese-picking Varus top lane, I have to ban it every game. But right now, it's, you know, I have to ban Varus, but hopefully I can get back onto banning Riven. Rise. So again, this, I said earlier, this is a preemptive nerf because Rise is doing very good, specifically because of one item. But they're saying, while we're nerfing Phase Rush, which obviously Rise is very good with, they're buffing Actualizer, the Rise item. So they're just doing a bit of a nerf to make sure that he doesn't become oppressive with Actualizer getting better. As I said earlier, I literally had a Rise earlier today, not build Actualizer, which is literally his item. Also, I can hear Queen Pleb and Baby Pleb talking to each, well, not talking to each other, but I can hear him making noise and Queen Pleb repeating it. It's very cute. But yeah, so it's a W nerf we used to do 4% bonus mana damage. It's now 3% bonus mana damage. So bit of a nerf. It will impact him. That's technically a 25% nerf. So there is that. Trundle. So again, I have played against a Trundle this year. It wasn't the most fun experience because, again, we spoke about it earlier. The stat stick champs that don't really outplay you. Yeah, Trundle's in that category too. So it's either does he beat you with chomping you and auto-attacking you to death, or do you beat him by either doing the exact same thing if you're playing that type of champion, or do you outplay him, you know? So his armor growth is going up and his attack damage growth is going up. Oof, Jesus. That's two pretty decent buffs for a Trundle, by the way. So, yeah. So you can see here, it's like, Trundle was doing poorly in both of his main roles, and as a very straightforward champion. So, yeah. As I said, I don't love when Riot is buffing the very straightforward champions, because they can become quite oppressive. But, you know, he's getting buffed, so we'll see how that goes. Speaking of a straightforward champion, Tryndamere. So yeah, Tryndamere is still struggling, but they're buffing up his attack damage growth, so giving him more scaling. The thing with Tryndamere, again, he's kind of like Trundle, but even more. Before the game even begins, you know, if you look at the enemy comp and you look at your comp, you kind of know, oh, is Tryndamere going to do good in this game, or is he going to do bad? A lot of it is kind of pre-done on what champions are in the game. Oh, you have high CC, or you have a top laner that can deal with the Tryndamere. Okay, he probably won't do that well. Or you've got no CC and you've got a really squishy top laner that will die during Tryndamere ult on you know, in tower. Oh, Tryndamere is going to destroy you. Yeah, it's not the most fun experience in the world. And you know, he's in that category of champion that's not just the category we've been speaking about recently of the kind of non-skill expressive basic champs. There's like a subcategory under that of only a handful of champions, and that is kind of like Tryndamere, Master Yi. There may be one or two more, but fundamentally, it doesn't matter how well a Tryndamere does. You have to focus him. And that's the annoying thing when it comes to something like a Tryndamere or a Master Yi. It doesn't matter how good or bad they're doing. They could be 10-0, or they could be 0-10. You still have to focus him first. Because if you don't, and you don't take him down, he will destroy you eventually. It's very frustrating, but it's just the type of champion they are. So I don't love when Tryndamere gets buffed, but he's getting buffed. So there's that. Ugh, Varus. So yeah, Varus is... has been a menace. So, just to make it clear to everybody, why has Varus been a menace? Just to explain it in a very quick TLDR, he synergizes too well with certain items, Dusk and Dawn being one of them, on-hit items like Blade the Ruined King, even if you did dip your toe into it. But he basically has been stat checking melee champions and top. So what does that mean? There are clips out there of Varus standing still, auto-attacking and using the W and Q and E and stuff, but they are standing still. They are not trying to move and outplay, which you'd think that is Varus's weakness, is he's immobile. He is standing still, and he is killing melee top laners who are supposed to kill him. Like Aurelia, who is like the counter to ranged top laners. He's stat checking an Aurelia. And I will say it's been very funny to occasionally go on the Varus main subreddit. And I will give them credit. They, as a community, have actually been really sad because obviously a lot of them are not top laners and they themselves hate top lane Varus because it's just a kind of cheesy, dumb pick. But even there have been some people in the Varus going, oh, if people only like just knew what to do and pick Olaf and rush Kaenic, and people like going, yeah, but you know, that's a very specific thing to do. Like, if you're, let's say, a one-trick Varus top laner, and someone else is one-tricking something that's actually a top laner, you're just saying, oh yeah, let me out, like, stat check you because you're not going to play Olaf. Like, it's a very weird world that they've been in a little bit, some of them. So hopefully these nerfs are enough, but I don't even know if they're going to be. So let's see. So armor growth is going down, so making him squishier, technically, to a majority of the top lane roster. And then the big thing, the W, the on-hit damage is being nerfed 10% in AP ratio. And the max health damage is also being nerfed from the max health of 1.3% per 100 AP. So obviously this was, 3% of max health per 100, so it is less. This still seems strong. I don't know this is going to be enough. Obviously, we'll see what the Dusk and Dawn nerf is. Right now, and this is the thing, they should be nerfing him away from top lane completely. It should not exist in top. It's unhealthy for the game. This is going to take him, you could say, from, he can stand still and stat check top laners, to he'll still kill majority of top laners by moving a bit. That's not great. No top laner player wants Varus to be in this lane. He doesn't belong. So I'm not sure this is going to be a big enough nerf. Again, we'll see what Dusk and Dawn does, but not great. Vi, health growth going up and attack damage growth going up. So again, she has been struggling a bit. The problem with Vi, she's a bit of an odd champion, that she's not an assassin unless you're Battles of FS, but she is in essence a bruiser that has to go all in with her Q or her ultimate, and if the person doesn't die who she's going for, she will get killed 95% of the time, because she has to go that all in to make it happen. And that's where I would say, when I play jungle Vi, which is very occasional, you will see me very often just go full lethality, because it's that premise. I have to go absolutely all in. I'm literally, my ultimate is I'm going on top of you, and then what? They don't die because you're not doing enough damage. So she is in a bit this weird place even as a champ. So that's where I think lethality does work quite well. Volibear, so again, has been very much another broken champion for a very long time. The problem with Volibear, and I can just kind of go into it, and I've said this in a recent video, so apologies if you've heard this before. He's a very cool champion, and I actually personally like his kit a lot, and I potentially would even play the champion if they balanced him better. The problem with him is he synergizes way too well with all stats in the game. He synergizes with ability power, AD, attack speed, health. All of it. That's his problem. If they literally just said, right, he's very hard to balance, if not impossible to balance, being able to have AP, AD, attack speed, crit, all this stuff, we're just going to get rid of his AP ratios and just make him an AD champ. Or the other way around, we're going to get rid of his attack speed or AD ratios. He is an ability power champion. Suddenly, way easier to balance. That's his problem. So, and also the other problem is he synergizes too well with other items that are, let's say out of category. Navori Quick Blades is his second item he usually goes. Like recently he's been going Dusk and Dawn first item into Navori, which is basically giving him incredible AP with a sheen, with attack speed, and also cooldown reduction. With then Navori, he then basically doesn't have cooldowns when he's actively fighting somebody in a 1v1. It's very dumb. So yeah, to me, that's his problem. It's not specifically his kit, it's the fact he scales with all these stats. And he can pick and choose, because he scales with all of these stats, he can pick and choose the broken items of, that AP item is broken, I'll take that one. That attack speed item is broken or strong, I'll take that one. That AD item, I'll take that one. That's the problem with Volibear. So we'll see what they do. So the bonus physical damage, they are buffing his AD stuff. So again, trying to potentially get people away from building AP. Good luck with that. But yeah, they're buffing the bonus AD ratios of Q. So they're saying, like you can see here, Triforce could be good, or even Gunblade, but we'll see. And then the E, the cooldown is going up, and the non-champion damage cap is going down. This hardly nerfs him at all. So we're happy that Volibear is seeing action at all levels with a new build as our signature garage sale enjoyer. So that's the whole thing. He just buys anything, basically. But we want to make sure he's a little less overbearing, primarily in jungle. I played against one earlier today in top lane. It will be a video, I think. Yeah. Let's just say I destroyed him in the early game, and then he bought a couple stats. Yeah. We're targeting his main path's Q max burst without changing how it feels to get into combat, as well as his clear speed, so that he has to work a little harder to show up to fights. This isn't really doing that much. It's, doesn't do anything to the Navori thing. It doesn't, well, we'll see again with Dusk and Dawn, but Dusk and Dawn has been a new thing. He was still really strong before Dusk and Dawn came. You know, it was the cosmic item into Navori Quickblade before. So I don't think this does that much. Xin Zhao. So Xin Zhao, heal every third hit is being buffed. So starting at level 6, slightly more healing, and level 16, more healing. The E, bonus attack speed, again going up. So just 2 buffs, not crazy ones, but 2 buffs for Mr. Xin. He's an okay champion, but again, I think Xin is similar to Vi in that solo queue, especially at the moment, is about having such a high impact. And Xin does have a high impact, but more on a team level than an individual level. That's why you'll see him in pro play quite often, because he's really good at going, I'm going in, I'm distracting them, I'm surviving for such a long time with my ultimate. Team, you can now come and get kills. But in solo queue, you can't rely on those teammates as much, but then Xin Zhao himself also doesn't get kills. So he's in this kind of weird place that because he individually doesn't murder people, he's not worth picking as much. Yone, total AD ratio on his Q has been buffed. So I think partially, and again, I don't even know if I'm right, because again, I haven't not been seeing that much Yone, which I'm not complaining about. But obviously a lot of Yones and a lot of Yasuos, especially last year, were going Blade the Ruined King first item. But because of the whole change to crit, that crit has been massively buffed. The crit brothers, Yasuo Yone, should 100% be going crit now first. Crit damage, the amplifiers got to 200% damage again. It was 175% before. And these 2 champions get crit like quicker than everyone else. So they 100% should be going crit, but maybe they're not yet. I don't know. But Yone, I guess. So yeah, he's getting a buff, but you know, you can't really play Yone in top lane in modern meta. So, you know, you play him in mid. And I think there's just things that are better than Yone in mid right now. Obviously, he goes without saying, his kit is annoying. So if he ever gets a bit more popular, people straight away will go, oh god, it's Yone again. But that's just the nature of the champion, I guess. Zahen. So again, I like Zahen. Oh, they're just buffing his jungle. So yeah, I said earlier, because again, I don't look into detail what these buffs are going to be. I was like, I don't think Zahen needs a buff. It's not. It's just for his secondary role, which is jungle. They're giving him better clear speed in the jungle. So it's that simple. As Marco Pierre White says, is there we are. It was his choice. Zed, again, another strong jungler. Passive, which is kind of the execution, etc. They're just toning down that, which will lessen his clear speed. So you can tell, by the way, jungle is completely right now all about how quickly you can clear the jungle. That's all it is. You clear your jungle quicker, and for those that are like, why? If you clear your jungle quicker, you can be in fighting and you can gank more. You can do neutral objectives more. That's all that it is right now. So if you're not playing a jungler that has quick clear speed that is quick, if you're not playing a jungler that can even jump over walls, maximizing your clear speed again, you are going to struggle. And that's why I said earlier, Maokai cannot survive in the jungle when everything is so much faster at clearing. Everything that can jump over wall and wall and wall and wall. That's the meta of the game right now. So yeah. Items. So Actualizer, the only thing that they're doing with it is making it cheaper. Now, I said earlier, it's realistically only a Rise item. So to make it clear, people, what does it do? So it's a use item, so you have to press the button and it goes on cooldown. But in essence, what it does is it gives you extra burst for your spells based on how much mana you have. So that's why it's a perfect Rise item, obviously, because he buys all the mana items. The only other champ that I've actually seen buy this, and it's a very specific example, Pinkward, who's the top lane Shaco main, I have seen him buy this in a very simple way that he goes Malignant's first item, which is all about, you know, ultimate damage. And that, by the way, does proc the clone do more damage. And when the clone explodes, it does a burst of damage, and then boxes appear, and then the boxes do damage, which also counts towards Malignance, by the way, because that's technically Shaco's ultimate. I've seen him go Malignance into Actualizer, and he'll literally get ready for the Shaco clone to explode, just before it explodes, he'll press Actualizer, and that boom with the Shaco clone and then the boxes, all is getting Malignance procs and Actualizer bonus damage. So I have seen that, but obviously that's a very specific example. But yeah, so I don't really know how many more champions are going to buy it, even if it's cheaper. Again, Anivia, maybe, Kassadin, maybe. But again, they have very distinctive item builds that they want, and maybe this doesn't fit in, but we'll see. Dusk and Dawn, they're very, very, very strong item. So yeah, so Spellblade damage, so burst, you're talking now. 100% base AD plus 10% AP is 75% base AD and 10% AP. And the health, health is 300 to 350 gold. What? Why is that? Again, so I don't know what that is. Is that the health going up to 350, or is that the... I'm not sure. So what I will say, Varus is still going to be broken. I can say that right now. Like, the nerfs of Varus are not enough on his actual nerfs himself to then this nerf. They're not enough. And Volibear. Both of them are still going to be really strong. And also Echo and Diana. This is not enough of a nerf. A lot of these champions, the base AD is not what is making them broken. Yeah. It's still going to be really strong. So expect, I would say, next patch or even the patch after, there's going to be more changes to this item. There has to be. And expect Varus to still be permabanned. I think in the next 2 weeks, I've been literally banning Varus the last 2 weeks. I think I have to continue that, which again, I didn't want to do. I want to move and start banning Riven instead, but I just don't want to play against a Varus top. I'd rather fight a Riven that I can, let's say, vaguely interact with versus fighting a Varus, which I'm not fighting because I can't interact with one. That's the difference. So yeah. Endless Hunger. This item, I'd say it's not common. I have built it, I think, once, so it's a very high Omnivamp item, but it's very squishy. I don't think it even gives any health. So total gold cost is going up, but the attack damage is going up. So yeah, I'd say the problem that it's got, like they can say, it's awkward to build. I don't know at what scenario you would build this item, because it doesn't do more damage, and like it has the Omnivamp, which is good, but it doesn't do more damage than damage items. But then it doesn't give you the bruiser aspect because you need the health. It's in this weird area that I don't really know who's going to buy it. So, yeah, this item I'd say is quite fun. I played another Singed game today, and I built this is a good Singed item. So the max health gain is going up, the healing is being nerfed, and the ability haste is going up. So yeah, it's strong, definitely. So they're toning it down on how much healing it can give, so I'm fine with that because it has been strong. Armored advanced boots being buffed, so more bonus HP instead of max HP. Oh, so the shield is being so the shield is being changed in terms of it's giving more of a shield by base, but it's scaling from your bonus HP, not your max HP. Now, obviously, this is for mid laners, and some mid laners buy more health than you think. A Carly can walk around with like 3,500 health pretty quickly. But that would be the bonus health would be what you're buying from items. So not every mage item in mid lane gives health. Not every assassin item gives health. So yeah, I'd imagine this is more of a net nerf, but there's that. And they're doing the exact same thing for the Merc Tread version. Runes, gold refund for cashback is being nerfed. It has its own audience, but the buff is a bit too strong. Phase Rush, the ranged effectiveness for Phase Rush is being nerfed. So it's basically going to 50% effectiveness to the melee version. So yeah, it's basically making some champions, Orianna, Vlad, Talia, Ryze, they're a bit too hard to gank because like they just proc it and really run fast away. So they're just nerfing it down. Triple tonic, the elixir, so the potion That gives you the adaptive force, which is 30. Like for a lot of champions, I take triple tonic on Gangplank. 30 AD in the early game is a lot of AD. So, you know, I'm fine with this being nerfed, but it's just being toned down a bit. And there you go. Then we got arena changes. Oh, very quickly. SR ranked system updates. Apex negative LP gains. Okay, this is good for me because I have, right now, negative LP gains. So we've found and are resolving the case of some Apex tier negative LP issues that we've seen mentioned by players. This will still be some negative LP gains at the highest levels of the ladder, as the very best players should be pushing the limits of what's possible in the system, but it shouldn't be as widespread as it currently is. Good. Aegis of Valor. So I've had one Aegis of Valor, but yeah, it's been a bit silly. You know, I've I've definitely been against players that have got Aegis of Valor, and you can tell they're not really trying. And just to remind everyone, so Aegis of Valor is a system that they have mainly for autofill, but you can occasionally get it on a priority role. So when you're queuing for solo queue, there's usually 2 roles that are highlighted going, these are priority roles. Basically means you'll get a faster queue, and I think you're maybe guaranteed the role or something, because not many people are queuing up as these roles. So every now and then, you'll get a proc if you're playing a priority role. You won't know it, by the way, at the beginning of the game. I found out that when I had one in top lane. But yeah, I've only had one. It's usually jungle and support are often the priority roles here, at least on EU West in Apex rank. Occasionally it's top lane, but rarer. But yeah, it's too easy to hit a C, in essence. You can land a C in your score by just not going AFK. Like literally, like to get a C is just don't go AFK and move around a bit and you'll get a C. So it's going up to a B. I still don't think, like, you know, does this system need to exist? Probably not. Again, right when we were in the dev meeting, Riot gave their reasoning for it. But that basically people didn't try if they were autofilled, and the idea is if they're autofilled, they have an incentive to try because they could get double LP wins. The problem is they have an incentive to also just kind of get by because they're not going to lose any LP for the game. You know, so a B is harder to achieve, I guess, but I'm not sure that the criteria of, oh, you do get double LP or you do lose 0 LP should be based on a system that doesn't seem like it works. The amount of games nowadays that I get an S, I literally S on a game that I'm like, I did not play well, and I got an S. It doesn't seem like it works right now, I will say. So, yeah, not great. Duo queue at the top of Challenger. Oh, it's like kind of duo queue is broken in Apex ranks. After observing the power of duos in Season 1 and how they're performing across the ladder, the very top of the ladder duos, example rank 1 and 2, or 2 people in the top 10, are too strong together. So we're making some adjustments to make these games more fair. Duh. Like, I'm again in the developer meeting. I remember when Riot said it's back, baby, apart from Korea because they don't want it. Literally, people in the dev meeting were like, "Wait, what?" People were not happy, you know, because if you have 2, you know, even like professional League of Legends players don't play solo queue as much as they used to. But if you have 2 pros queuing up with each other as a duo, and you're against a team in High Challenger that doesn't have a duo, the 2 pros on the team are going to win. It's that simple. It's not okay. But yeah. Climb indicator. As committed in the 2026 ranked dev blog, we're going to enable the climb indicator feature. This feature will help players understand and identify whether someone's rank is low, but their MMR is high, or if they're still climbing. But yeah, this is basically like a ping thing in the loading screen being like, this is a smurf. And I think the idea of it is you can just be a little bit more careful of that player, play a little bit less risky, and stuff like that. Yeah. Co-op versus AI queue. Interesting. Stream mode. Ooh, what's this? So we've heard your feedback about players who use stream mode to troll their teammates from safety of anonymity. That has happened. Usually, like, again, yesterday, my first game of yesterday, we had a troll Cassiopeia, run it down mid lane, and buy 80 carry items on Cassiopeia. I use streamer mode because I'm a streamer, right? every time that you get one of these type of trolls, they are also using streamer mode, and 99% of the time they're not streaming, they're just using it to hide. So not ideal. And again, I really wish they didn't call it streamer mode. I wish they just called it privacy mode, because if they wanted to call it streamer mode, enable it just for league partners then, you know. And I would say I'm not for that, but that's what a streamer mode would be. But yeah, so what they're doing is when you have the hide my identifying info enabled, your identifying info is hidden for other players. Additionally, you will no longer see the identifying info from other players. So that's an interesting thing, because obviously I've got that mode on because I don't want people to be like, oh, is he a streamer? But that basically means I won't be able to see what they are either. I'm kind of okay with that personally. I don't think that's an absolute negative. Obviously, at the end of the game, I normally look up what people are anyway, so I'm kind of okay with that. Clash. So for EU and stuff, we're getting a Clash this upcoming weekend because Clash was broken. So hopefully we can try to get a Clash game in. I'll ask the team if they're about. Your shop is coming at the end of this patch. And then, yeah, Demacia Rising, the mini game in the client, is coming. The next part of it is coming out. So there we go. Big patch. Over an hour video. My throat is killing me. So I'll get this edited up, uploaded, and it will be out in a few hours' time. So let me know what you think. I personally would say I don't think the nerfs are enough to some of these champions, and the item for Dusk and Dawn is not being nerfed enough. So I think the balance is going to be relatively the same, to be honest, but we will see. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, do throw a like on it, throw a comment, throw a subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.
Welcome to the Rift, where the legends play. It's us and games bringing skill every day. From tips to tricks and play so fine. You'll learn the game and have a good time. Thanks for watching, you're the real MVP. Hit that like and sub, join the family tree. Like, comment, and subscribe. Keep the Hussy dream alive. Tune in on Twitch, it's the place to